All right, for the third one. Yikes. How would you define consciousness? And when and at where does it begin? I feel like I'm walking into some kind of abortion question with this one. Um, I hope not, because that's a totally different topic. Um, Consciousness. How would I define consciousness? Um, hmm. I would define consciousness in a very slippery sense. I would love to be able to make a really tight, coherent philosophical argument as to what it is, but somehow inside I think that it's a question that still hasn't been answered. I mean, we still have the hard problem in cognitive science. We don't know exactly where consciousness comes from, the origin of the self. I mean, when you experience something in the world, you definitely experience it as if something is happening to me. When I fall off my bike, uh, I'm fairly incapable of extracting the me, self, Andrewness from the experience as much as I'd like to, and Valium will help. But I bracket am still there, right? So consciousness, I guess, to me is some kind of force almost. I can only speak to it in some kind of a mystical sense. I'd like to have a more, I guess, scientific way of explaining it. But it seems to me like this driving outward orientation or force that sort of illuminates the individual. It seems to be that thing that leaves when people die, and I'm not talking about a soul in that sense, in that narrow sort of sense, but it does seem to be this illuminating spark match type force that is the thing that is inside of humans as they're alive, right? It is in some ways almost that aliveness. Um, it's that, and to me, it's also something that's always um, projected outwards. It's always focused outwards. Even internal processes in some way are always related to something external, to something out there. And yes, I know that brings in a much bigger, larger philosophical question of the difference between what's in and here and what's out there. But in a strict sense of what is consciousness, to me, it just seems to be this unknown, inexplicable force that allows us, in some ways, to know or to be known. That doesn't really make sense. No, no. To me, it just seems like it is a force. It is inside of us, but I don't really know what it is. I don't really know how to fully grasp it in any way that makes it sound coherent. I think I'll just leave it at that and let someone chop this up, and hopefully it makes sense.